Captain, coach and halfback. The lock forward is Lewis, Summer and Niebling in the second row, and the front row is formed by Brodie, Richards and McGuinness. And now Redcliffe, coached by Frank Stanton. The fullback is Pearce, Schultz and Simmons on the wings, Lease and Benson in the centres. Cherry is 5'8", Part halfback. Holmes is lock forward. The second row will be Obston, Webb and 11. Barber in 10 will be in the front row with Abbott and Deacon.
Valleys opened the scoring with a goal by Szlowski in the 4th minute. First try of the match came 3 minutes later.
Valley ball, Flynn, the 5'8", plays it back. Strudwick and across to the front row of Brodie, who storms in then, but well and truly stopped by Abbott and company. Cross ball. And the referee ordering a scrum for the knock-on both ways.
We see Brodie do that quite a lot. He tries to get the ball free in 2 hands to pass, and then when the tackle comes in and smothers the ball, he loses it in the tackle.
And Strudwick kicking it through under Wally Lewis. Lewis races through. Here's the first try coming up. Clever work from Strudwick, and Valleys lead by 5 points to 0.
Yes, there was an element of luck in that, though, wasn't there? A kick from Strudwick that rebounded off a Redcliffe player straight into the hands of Wally Lewis, and he had the acceleration and pace to race away and score the try. Let's watch it now. The scrum packing down. Went straight through, almost straight into Lewis's hands, and there he goes to score the try.
Szlowski's kick, and up goes the flags, and the Diehards lead 7-0 after 9 minutes.
Redcliffe replied with a goal by Pearce in the 10th minute, and we pick up play a little later with Valleys leading 7-2.
Valleys 18 metres out there, Ryan Lyon. Strudwick sends it across then to Duncan, and Duncan, 17-year-old centre, goes down in a fairly hard tackle. Well tackled by Peter Lease, was the main tackler in there, as Strudwick gives it to Niebling. Boom! As he stopped in his tracks, Brian Niebling.
Good strong running and good strong tackling,
yes,
wasn't it?
It was excellent football, wasn't it? And he came out of it surprisingly well, because he was really stopped in his tracks, wasn't he? This is Flynn, who's tackled by Cherry, and support in there from Holmes, the lock forward. Strudwick. Summer. Summer caught a pretty heavy tackle from Deacon, the front row for Redcliffe. Lewis shaping to kick and then dummying, still going back inside to Strudwick, and Strudwick racing away, looks for the support and waits and floats it across, but Lewis couldn't get to it as it's picked up by Part for Redcliffe. And so the changing fortunes of the game as Part makes play up towards the halfway mark, got support, the lock forwards there, and over the halfway mark. Redcliffe back inside Valleys territory. Plenty of strong attack from both sides as Webb sends it on then to the centre, out wide to Pearce, back again to Simmons from the wing, up to the hooker, and then to John Barber. Barber spinning it across. There's that young centre again, Benson, and 10 metres inside Valleys territory. Part. Deacon. Redcliffe moving it about well. That's Schultz on the left wing. And Schultz stopped by Muir and also Duncan. This is Obst. And standing flat-footed Redcliffe as it goes to Cherry, and further out to the centres to Lease, and Lease turning it back to Benson, and Benson, that rightly built centre.
Left posted a little, really, wasn't he?
Yes. That's Webb. Webb kicking across to the open spaces behind the winger Muir as it runs down, but it comes back infield over the dead ball line eventually as Muir watches it run out. So it's back to the 25, back to the quarter line for the dropout.
Little unlucky Terry Webb then. He's surprised me with his kicking. Obviously he's a good kicker because they're using him in that role today, and that was quite a good kick. He was unlucky with the bounce.
And so Valleys, well, it's not the dropout, it'll be the tap, of course, as the Valley hooker Richards takes that tap. Brodie. Summer.
And in 3 rucks, they've nearly gone to the halfway line. Look at that.
Yes, only about 5 or 6 metres short. Strudwick. Cross to Flynn. Flynn beats one tackle, but caught this time by 2 others on halfway. So it's Lewis's turn to move up there. Brodie's hurt behind the play as it comes to McGuinness. Stretching out strongly, but stopped by Abbott. One of the main tacklers in there. The other one obscured it was Part. Strudwick up the middle. Turning it back and knocked down, picked up by the hooker across to Whelan in the centres, and Whelan able to get it on to Falvey, who swooped on by Simmons with assistance from Webb, and that's the 6 tackles, so we'll have the scrum. Brodie's okay again.
Yes, there's really nothing happening there with Valleys. They took it up 3 times strongly in the ruck, but after that there wasn't much on.
Valleys leading 7-2 after 22 minutes, and it's a penalty against Valleys collapsing the scrum, a penalty to Redcliffe, just inside their own territory. Let's look at the scrums. The scrums go to Valleys 3-1, and the penalties to Valleys 5-4. And scrum penalties, for the record, 2-all. Valleys leading 7-2. Big John Barber, one of his long line kicks, and doesn't find touch, so he was trying to get too much distance, and it goes down to Sizlowski, and the Valley fullback in a great run. Who should he run into but John Barber? That's a bit of bad luck.
Yes, and a crashing tackle from the big fellow too.
Well, he'd be pretty angry about not finding the line, I suppose. This is Summer, and Summer in a very neat tackle by Part round the ankles, and assistance from the lock. Strudwick's pass to Lewis. Lewis jugging back to Strudwick, and Strudwick's pass is knocked down. It was meant for the fullback as Valleys race back to pick it up.
6 to go.
6 to go, too.
Touched by a Redcliffe player.
This is the winger, Falvey. Abbott round the ankles, and Tony Obbs, the other tackler, over the top.
Good strong defence from Redcliffe at this moment, isn't it?
Yes, they've stepped up their defence, Redcliffe. This is Al McGuinness. Plenty of defenders there for him, including Steve, Cherry, and of course the hooker was in there as well. This is Falvey, and oh yes, strong defence. Holmes lifting him up, and the other tackler, Webb, playing in the second row, but wearing number 11 jersey. Now Summer brushing away and getting it back to Lewis. Cleverly done. Then to Flynn, the 5'8", up alongside of him, just short of halfway. Duncan, Lewis sends his pass. Across it comes, then to the centres to Duncan, and Duncan is 30 metres out. Injured player further back in the field is Solowski. This is the fullback, and so we're about to pack down a scrum 30 metres out from the Redcliffe line.
Valleys without a fullback.
Yes, still receiving some attention. Valley's ball, and getting plenty of ball from the scrum as Muir's in from the blind side. Referee telling Redcliffe to stand back onside as it comes to Lewis, further then to Flynn, and Flynn's running strongly. There's Duncan, and Darryl Duncan tackled just outside the Redcliffe quarter line. Wheeland onto the ball comes the second row, Niebling, and Valley's relishing this extra space they're getting here at times. And
Redcliffe
we're seeing
standing
it again.
and waiting.
And that sort of suits Valley's attack. This is Strudwick. Across it comes then. A juggle from Duncan. Picked up. Pearce couldn't get to it as Duncan goes back, but the knock-on to be played. And Sizlowski is all right again, is he? Yes, he's okay.
Yes, of course, Sizlowski took that heavy tackle from John Barber after Barber failed to find touch with that penalty kick.
And it's a Valley ball again. Strudwick's there out to Lewis. Lewis turning it back to Strudwick. Out it comes across to Flynn. And the 5'8" races through for the second try of the match. And Valley's lead by 10 points to 2.
Well, Peter Flynn will be wondering if it is just that easy in A-grade football. I think this is his first appearance in top company, Peter Flynn. Let's watch it now as the combination at the base of the scrum. Strudwick to Lewis to Strudwick and back into Flynn in the gap. And he has nobody to beat to score the try.
Sizlowski's kick raises the flags, and Valleys go to a lead of 12 points to 2. Bunny Pearce to restart play for Redcliffe as it goes deep down to Sizlowski. News from Oxenham Park, or formerly Oxenham Park, it's going back a bit, isn't it? Bishop Park. Penalty to Valleys there. Easts are playing Norths down there, that North's big winger Brian Dunn has been sent off the field. This is Wally Lewis. And finding touch, a good kick from Lewis, 5 metres inside Redcliffe territory. Richards, Summer. McGuinness turned back to Brodie, and across the top, and it goes to Whelan. I don't know if it was meant for him, but it went straight to Whelan anyway. This is Niebling. Pushes away from one tackle. He's very strong, this young second rower, isn't he? Takes a lot to put to ground. And it's a penalty against an arm being brought up in the tackle against one of the Redcliffe players. And Niebling, Tony Obbs is being called out. We might see if we can see that again, but Niebling left on the ground. He doesn't stay on the ground too often, Ryan Niebling, but...
no, you can bet your life that he is injured. There's, I think it may have been knees in the tackle. It looked as though it could have been accidental, but there's the face of the injured Brian Niebling.
And Valleys have taken the penalty as a result of that incident, and the second kick as the hooker Richards is about 10 metres out from the line. Valleys leading 12-2 as Lewis sends it to Summer. Richards, Strudwick moves on, Brodie. Back to Strudwick and slipping it on to Lewis, out wide then to Niebling, and Szydlowski's there, the full-back into the line, to Muir on the right flank. Muir dodging around, can he get over from there? It'll be a big effort, plenty of defenders there, and very nearly got through Doug Muir. It was a good effort. Well, he's really keen today. Lewis, Strudwick, across to Summer, further out then to Brodie. Strudwick's having an excellent game, organising Valleys out there again today. Strudwick. And over the top it goes to Whelan, further across to Falvey and into touch.
Yes, it just seems to be a matter of time before Valleys get that try. They're making a few errors at the last minute and not going on with it, but they seem to have the Redcliffe defence ragged when they're in their own quarter.
And Part's ball in for Redcliffe. And penalty to Valleys against the halfback. Valleys leading 12-2, 10 minutes before half-time. And not worrying about the kick at goal, just to kick for the line from Lewis.
I think Valleys sensing a try here.
Yes, well, I've had Redcliffe under a lot of pressure this last minute or so there. This is Richards. Lewis, Summer, Lewis, and Brodie down the middle. Gets it back again to Lewis over the top, but stopped a couple of metres out. Strudwick's there, sends it on to Flynn. Flynn thought another try was coming up then, but that gap closed all of a sudden with the hooker and also the 5/8 Cherry in there for the tackle. McGuinness trying to charge his way through, slipping it back to Brodie. Brodie losing the ball as he was about to go over the line, and so referee decides to bring play back to the quarter line for Redcliffe to take the tap. Knocked on over the line. This is Abbott, the Redcliffe hooker, and onto the ball comes Trevor Deacon, stopped by the front row pair of McGuinness and Brodie. Abbott pulled down by McGuinness, assistance from the hooker. Part and Obst back to Part, and the pass going astray with Whelan diving it on it for Valleys, but the ball had been knocked on, and so we'll have a scrum just outside the Redcliffe quarter line. The Redcliffe reserve on the
Jones, it looks like.
Bobby Jones, the hooker's on the sideline over there, but this is a Valley ball as Falvey has it, and the winger well stopped by Holmes.
Bobby Abbott seems to be all right. I don't know what.
Yes, out to Flynn, and now Whelan. Flynn, Strudwick, and Niebling. Niebling across to McGuinness. McGuinness back to Niebling. Niebling, Strudwick caught immediately by Barber, but tried to get it to Szydlowski, losing the ball. A knock-on to be played. And Bobby Jones is coming onto the field.
It's been interesting to see
touch judge running on there as in front of him. And touch judge indicated that he was bringing the player onto the field, and the other player, Abbott, leaving the field. So Bobby Jones is the new hooker for Redcliffe. The penalty 6-1 to Valleys, and that's obviously the reason that Jones has been brought onto the field. That's Part. Across to Webb. Didn't take him long to win a scrum.
No.
Valleys leading 12-2, only 8 minutes before half-time. Out it goes to Cherry. And Steve Cherry away from one tackle, does well to get it onto Peter Lease. Lease turning it back again as it comes back onto the support, and that's Benson's pass. It comes onto Part. Part moving well as it hit a Valleys player too. 6 tackles to go indicated. Look at Bunny Pearce racing onto the ball strongly, looking everywhere for support. There's no one there just at the moment. It comes out to Simmons on the right flank, and he manages to get going. He's got a couple of players to beat and beats the winger who'd come across from the far side. And that was Muir across to fullback Pearce, then to Part, longer pass, then further out to Benson, then to the 5/8. Out it goes now to Peter Lease. Peter Lease to Holmes. Holmes races for the corner, and here's a try for Redcliffe as Holmes goes round, as Schultz goes round and straightens up. And Schultz, the left winger, has scored for Redcliffe. It's 12-5 to Valleys.
Well, that try was always on when that break was made. They could have scored it at the right-hand touchline, but didn't quite make it, but realised they had men over back to the left-hand side of the field, and here it comes now as the ball goes along the back line. There's a long one from Pearce to half-back Parton, then through the centres. That's Cherry. Gets it on to Lease. At least knows his man outside is unmarked, and there goes Schultz around to score the try.
Bunny Pearce attempting this conversion and raises the flags, and so Valleys lead 12-7. Lewis to restart play for Valleys. Their lead having been reduced to 5 points, down to Pearce and across to Simmons. Well stopped. Barber. Some good football from Redcliffe in that those movements leading up to the last try, John.
Yes, there were a lot of players running onto the ball.
Obst.
I can remember Obst was a key man in it. He stood in a tackle and got rid of the ball.
And this is Webb kicking across to the line, but Muir takes it comfortably. And he's tackled by Lease and Schultz. Brody. Muir. Strudwick. And Flynn, 5/8, for giving to Richards the hooker, then Whelan and Summer, the second row. Ian Summer running strongly. Oh, Tony Obst wrapped him up and he felt that tackle. Falvey, Richards, across to Strudwick, further on to Lewis, and then Flynn. Not a great deal of speed in that passing movement then.
No, it was very slow, wasn't it?
And this Niebling, he doesn't mind straightening up the play, does he, this second rower?
No support going with him, though.
No, that's right. This is Strudwick. And back to Lewis, and straight down the middle. Lewis veering away from tackle after tackle, and Wally Lewis is through for the third try for Valleys, his second, and Valleys lead 15-7.
Well, there we see that brilliant combination again. Strudwick going right, turning it back inside. Predictably, though, I thought he telegraphed that a little, and they should have covered that inside pass, but it was the strength of Lewis and the acceleration of Lewis from there. Watch it now as Strudwick goes left, turns it back into Lewis. Lewis goes through the middle, of course, too much pace for Barber, and does well to get away from the defence there to score the try.
Szydlowski attempts this conversion, waved away, so the score remains Valleys 15, Redcliffe 7. Pearce restarts play. Szydlowski's ball. And he did well to take it up about 20 metres out from his own line. Richards, caught by Holmes. Summer. And playing it forward. And picking up quite a few metres too. Valleys and a few rucks have moved up close to the halfway mark again. This is McGuinness turning in the tackle, back to Muir, and the Muir into touch.
Playing that steady type of football we quite often see from Valleys. The acting halfback taking it up and gaining quite a lot of metres.
5 metres inside Redcliffe territory. And it's a Valley ball. Flynn. Strudwick. And across to Duncan in the centres. Back again to Lewis. Lewis running strongly. Slips it away again to Whelan. Whelan looked for the support. There was no one there.
Just one lacking, wasn't it? Another support there, and that would have been a try.
And referee indicating that he lost the ball, so we'll have a scrum about 20 metres out in the Redcliffe line. Scrums go to Valleys 7-2. The penalties to Valleys 8-4. First scorers in the match, 1 for Valleys and 1 for Redcliffe. The two fullbacks, of course. Hart's ball in, out of the side of the scrum. They play on the half-time hooter as Ian Pearce has it. And it's put to ground by Niebling, and that's it for half-time, with Valleys leading 15-7. Pearce restarts play for Redcliffe in the second half as it goes to Szydlowski and straight on to Doug Muir. Valleys leading 15 points to 7. Richards. Tackled by Bob Jones and also John Barber. This is Summer. Deacon tackler. Brody Tackled by Jones. Richards. Straight up the middle, caught by Barber. But picking up a lot of valuable ground, Valleys, nevertheless. Up the middle, there they go again, Brody. And this is the old Valleys pattern, of course, earlier in the season, of being content to make 5, 6 and 7 metres, which they did pretty effortlessly then.
So I think that was a half-time tactic to get back into the game and start off not making errors.
And a penalty against that front row, not packing straight the Valleys front row. Penalty to Redcliffe.
So the half-time tactic just came unstuck by conceding that penalty.
So John Barber to take this penalty kick for the line. Plenty of beef in that one, and finds touch just outside the Valleys quarter line. So we're about 24, 25 metres out from the line, with the hooker sending it on to Barber. Tackled by Brody and also Niebling. Jones, dummy half, and this time Deacon. Deacon, well stopped by Niebling, a good low tackle. Holmes, dummy half. Part, the half-back, and moves on as he runs across. It goes to Peter Lease, bounces out of one tackle, slips it back to Bunny Pearce. Pearce racing through and gets it back again to the support coming up alongside, and it's a try to Redcliffe.
Colin Part, the little half-back, scoring the try, and what a surprise start that is for Redcliffe in this second half. They looked good at times in attack in the first half, but this was real good attack. Let's watch it now. Comes along the back line. Colin Part doing well here, running across the field, dummying. Gives it then to Peter Lease. Lease making the half split and picking up Pearce on the fly, and Pearce back inside to Part, always backing up Part, and there's the try.
Bunny Pearce attempting this conversion. Valleys leading 15-10, and they now lead 15-12, so Redcliffe only 3 points away. Wally Lewis restarts play for Valleys as it goes down to Terry Webb. Webb tackled by the winger Falvey, with assistance from the second row forward. Now this is Deacon. Redcliffe playing with plenty of confidence now. John Barber. Pretty close score. Valleys are being quoted in certain areas around here that we can overhear as 7 and sometimes 10 points start required for Redcliffe. But certainly it's a much closer game than that might indicate as it comes across to Falvey. Falvey to Lewis. And Niebling. In fact, in betting, we could hear direct betting that was 2-1 on Valleys before the start of this game. Valleys leading 15-12 at the present time, with a 5/8 Flynn tackled 10 metres short of halfway. There's Strudwick, and across it comes to Big Al McGuinness. Valleys making some good ground. And Al McGuinness losing the ball and picked up by the second row Summer, but the knock-on to be played. And the diehards who played very well in burst today are realising that Redcliffe are right back in the game.
So I don't think Strudwick would be happy with the mistake rate, though, of Valleys. There we saw McGuinness, not under pressure, lose the ball.
It's a Redcliffe ball. Part, Pearce. Caught by Lewis. Part and Webb. Tackled by Summer and also Brody. Bunny Pearce dummy half. Part and Bobby Jones this time. Tough hooker up to halfway. Pearce, Barber, turned across then to lock forward Holmes. Well and truly stopped by Niebling. Across this time to Pearce. Part and knocked on, picked up by Lewis. Advantage rule. Brody. Ian Summers up into the dummy half position. Richards, Lewis, across to Strudwick out wide, slipping it on to Flynn over the halfway mark and tackled by Benson. There's Duncan in the dummy half position, the Valley centre. Wheeland, Strudwick and Niebling further out to Lewis, and here comes the fullback Soslovsky, tackled by Big John again. Little surprise. Tony Obbs is thereabouts.
Out in the centres, Big John.
Yes. And this is the second row. Summers pass to Lewis, breaking the tackle. Wally Lewis, he's racing through for the corner. He's got the full-back to beat, tries to get through and then get the pass away, but couldn't get it onto Muir, and so it's a Redcliffe ball with Pearce picking up the loose one after some excellent work from Lewis. Part. across to Deacon. And the Deacon stopped by Richards and Summer. Terry Webb, dummy half. Barber up the middle, and round the ankles was Brodie. And two other tacklers in there, including Big Al and Summer. Now, this is Jones, determined to pass the ball back, but he was well wrapped up by Summer. Webb. A deep kick over Soslovsky's head. A bounce a bit awkward for him. Muir takes it high like an Aussie rules player, and dug Muir away from Schultz for a moment, but then picked up by Tony Obst. Soslovsky, second row, Niebling. Webb the tackler. There's Felby. Over halfway. And bounces a player back, and it's a penalty. The penalty to Valleys against Webb, apparently. See it again.
Yes, that was a pretty heavy one too. From Webb, from this ruck.
It might have been Cherry.
I suppose it now. He comes infield. And there it is. Yes, it was Cherry. Yes, it was Cherry.
Webb was underneath. And so a penalty to Valleys. Lewis finds touch midway between Redcliffe's quarter line and the halfway mark. Felby is recovered from that high one. There he goes. Richards, dummy half. Strudwick. McGuinness. Stopped immediately by Obst. Wrap-up tackle, stopping him from passing it. Flynn, the 5/8 for Valleys. Back it comes to Niebling. And Niebling ran into Cherry, but the first man in for the tackle was the lock forward, Holmes. Strudwick. Strudwick dashing through on his own and spinning in the tackle as Tony Obst is spinning him around. Brodie. Obst, Barber rather, is wrapping him up. Assistance from Obst. Final tackle's on. And it's a penalty against John Barber for something rather there. Penalty to Valleys in front. Valleys leading 15-12 after 8 minutes into the second half. Strudwick attempts this penalty kick at goal in front and raises the flags, and so the Diehards lead 17-12. Pearce restarts play for Redcliffe as it goes down to Soslovsky, and he's tackled by Webb. Summer, Valley second rower. Didn't gain too much ground that time as he runs into Barber and Webb. Webb does a terrific amount of tackling for Redcliffe, doesn't he? This number 11, Brodie this time with a headlock from John Barber. Summer, Richards, Strudwick and Niebling. Niebling taking Bobby Jones back with him. Assistance in a tackle from Holmes, the lock. Richards, Strudwick, Lewis. And Lewis taken by Obst on the Strudwick, Brodie and Summer. And Barber's there with Bobby Jones. The tackle, well, he's not making any progress, are they? The final tackle's on. Richards, Strudwick, and Strudwick kicking for the line. It's a good kick too. Well snapped out of the air by Bunny Pearce. And back inside, another good break from Pearce. And he's got the flying Schultz there, but Schultz couldn't get away as Muir had him covered and moved into him very quickly. Redcliffe 30 metres out from the line as Part gives it to Holmes. Holmes, well tackled by Niebling, gets it back to his half-back and then to Tony Obst. Obst stopped by Flynn and company, and one of the Valley players was injured in the tackle. Can't quite see who it is, but it comes on to Cherry. Brodie's the injured Valley's player as Cherry plays it back for Redcliffe. Parts in the dummy half position. Jones further on then to Parts across there this time, then to Pearce, further into Lease in the centres, then Pearce. And Pearce about 24 metres out from Valley's line. Webb. Part and Webb, and this time Holmes, stopped by the second row Niebling and also Vic Whelan, the centre. Webb. And back this side to Pearce, and inside it goes to Colin Parts, flipping it back again to the support there. But that's a 6 tackle, so we'll have the scrum about 18 metres out from Valley's line. Valley's leading 17-12 after 13 minutes of play in the second half.
Redcliffe certainly haven't thrown in the towel, have they? Some good attack there around the rucks.
This is one of their best performances, or one of their better performances, I suppose, as it's a penalty to Redcliffe in front against Strudwick, and so it's a penalty, well, not quite in front, about 15 metres in from touch, and it's Bunny Pearce who's going to take the kick at goal. Pearce attempts his penalty kick. He's kicked 3 out of 3 so far, and it's 4 out of 4, and Valley's lead 17-14. Lewis has restarted play down to Webb. Tackled by Felvey and Niebling. Barber, and this time Deacon.
Sizlowski is off and Klein is on in his position.
There's a new player in the Valley lineup, is there? Klein is in. Klein's in number 3 jersey for Valleys with Sizlowski off, and Pearce sends his pass out wide there to Peter Lease, and Lease running up over halfway mark. A good strong run from Lease, as didn't quite know which way to give it, the dummy towards his winger, and stays with it. He was had all sorts of decisions to make then, Peter Lease, and eventually decided he'd better stay with it as the 5'8" Cherry is tackled inside Redcliffe territory. So Sizlowski off the field for Valleys, and Klein is in. This is Part. Tackled by Wieland. Goes to Obbs this time. Tony Obbs kicking that high one, and it's out on the full. No, very close indeed. It was close to the line, but an excellent kick from Tony Obbs.
There's everything going Redcliffe's way now. They're getting more than their share of ball possession since half-time, I imagine. It just appears that way anyway. We'll get
7-4 to Valleys, John. 7-4 to Valleys. Scum about 8 metres out from Valley's line. Strudwick's ball in. Valley's leading by 3 points. Valley's the premiership leaders on 28 points of the Brisbane competition, only 1 ahead of Souths on 27. It's a Redcliffe ball, Parts there, and well and truly smothered by Lewis. Pearce is right up there, the fullback, to move things on. Simmons up there outside to Benson and into Schultz, the other winger, wrapped up by Muir. Peter Lease up into the dummy half position, and Pearce is there. Lease again, across it comes to Simmons, and Simmons from that far side wing, tackled by Niebling and also Brody. This time it's Webb, dummies on, and Lease. Redcliffe 20 metres out from the line. That's Jones. Final tackles on. And Jones being hurt there. He indicated that he was hurt by his opposite number. And then pushed down again by Richards, and rightly so. I don't know why Richards is carrying on like that. It's a penalty to Redcliffe right in front.
Stupid play from Richards.
Yes, let's see it again. Just incredible. You can see Jones really in some sort of pain. Look, you see that business there, and then as he gets up, he has another go.
Well, Jones was at fault there. He could have got up, but then when he did get up, Richards pulled him down again.
Pearce trying to make it 5 out of 5 with this kick right in front, and raises the flags, and Redcliffe draw within 1 point of Valleys. Valleys leading 17-16. Lewis restarts play as it goes down to Tony Obbs. And the tough Redcliffe second row breaks away from a couple of tackles, including Brody, and runs up to Lewis, who wrestles with him. Can't put him to ground, but stops him. And so Redcliffe move it on. Out it comes to Jones, further across into Deacon. Deacon slips a pass on to Peter Lease, and Lease racing through over the halfway mark. He's got Schultz outside of him too, but couldn't get it to him. And a brilliant burst in from Peter Lease, the veteran out there, or one of the veterans, about 32, 33 years of age. Out it comes to Part, further across into Cherry. Cherry tries that kick ahead, was bowled over just after he kicked the ball. It's a penalty to Redcliffe in front. Cherry flattened behind the play by McGuinness, apparently the front row forward.
Yes, that silly play from Valleys. They're conceding penalties when they should have had the ball. Here we see it. When they should have had the ball, they've conceded this penalty, the little one over. No, it was somebody else that McGuinness had flattened, just off camera.
20 minutes into the second half, this kick would give Redcliffe the lead, and Bunny picked 6 out of 6. Redcliffe in front, leading by 18 points to 17. Wally Lewis to restart play for Valleys, down 1 point. 20 minutes left in the match. Valleys have scored 3 tries to 2, but trailed by a point, as that man, Bunny Pearce, who's had an excellent game today, and by the way, has kicked 3 goals in the last 6 minutes to give Redcliffe the lead. This is Barber, and tackled by Niebling. Also the hooker, and Brody was thereabouts, the front row forward. Obbs trying to go up the middle, but stopped and bounces that hooker away from him and gets the pass away in the tackle onto Cherry. Part and Webb and the ball knocked on indicates the referee, so we'll have a scrum about 30 metres out from the Redcliffe line in the centre field.
It's been all Redcliffe since half-time, hasn't it? And they've had 2-1 of the ball, 2-1 of the scrums and 4-2 the penalties since half-time.
And Valley ball across to Lewis out of the scrum, caught by Pearce, the full-back, standing right up there. Strudwick, dummy half. And this is Klein, the replacement centre, in number 3 jersey, tackled by Deacon over the top. Summer, Strudwick and Brody, and the crowd really starting to liven up here. Only a small crowd, about 7,000 here today. This big match, the first of the knockout semi-finals on the 31st of August. It comes on to McGuinness, who gets that pass back in field to no one, and gathered by Muir eventually, who's caught by Schultz, and also Part, and 6 tackles to go. That's Duncan, the centre, the Valleys. Valleys are the premiership leaders with 28 points from South 27, North 24, and Brothers also 24 as a result of their win yesterday. And Redcliffe on 19 points back in 5th place. Next week, Brothers will play Redcliffe, Souths play Norths, Valleys play West, and East play Wynnum as it goes to Strudwick, and slipping it on to Lewis. Lewis is taken on immediately by Deacon, and now Klein can't get to it, picked up by Part. And the roar from this crowd as the little Redcliffe halfback has the ball for the underdog side. Pearce's pass, out it comes now to Webb. Webb running strongly, and on it comes back to Schultz, and Schultz picked up from behind by Muir. Didn't need to get much of a start there, but Muir really flew onto him to pick him up. This is very fast Schultz, that Redcliffe winger. Out wide then, this comes to Benson, the centre. Cherry, and now Tony Obbs. Ducking his head as he comes straight up the middle. Stopped by the hooker, and also Niebling. This is Barber. Barber's pass goes astray. Valley ball. Strudwick in possession. Brody, and back to Lewis, and very nearly knocking it on, but just bouncing it in there, or floating it there for a moment. Summer. Stopped by Barber, and also Deacon. To Strudwick, back to Lewis. Lewis down the middle and runs straight into Deacon again. Some pretty solid tackling from Redcliffe. Richards, Strudwick, and McGuinness outside, running strongly, but caught by Webb in a good front-on tackle. Muir, Strudwick, and across to Brody. And Brody slipping it away to Niebling. Niebling in turn does well to get it back to Strudwick. Out it comes to Klein. Klein looks across for the support, and the pass goes astray as it's picked up by Duncan in the centres, and Duncan is breaking it almost away as his ankle tapped. And the 18-year-old centre's only about 10 metres out the line. The final tackle's on, the scrum to pack down.
Very well, the young fellow then, didn't he?
Yes.
He picked it up on the fly and showed a clean pair of heels.
Redcliffe leading 18-17. We've got 16 minutes left in the game. Valleys, of course, have been beaten by the 3 top seeds, not tennis, 3 top teams the last 3 weeks, but and are trailing by 1 point here, so they're desperate to win, as Redcliffe will play it back Part 10 metres out from his own line. That's Cherry, and turned on to Webb, out wide to Bob Jones, and the Redcliffe hooker 20 metres out for his own line. Webb on the ground a bit further back. Now he's okay again as he slowly gets to his feet. Onto Deacon. And Deacon stopped by Brody, and also Niebling racing in for the tackle. He does a terrific amount of work, Niebling. Part and Barber. Redcliffe playing like men possessed as they realise they can upset the premiership leaders and, of course, keep themselves with some slim chance of making the semi-finals. Although, as we said at the beginning of the program, it's certainly a pretty remote chance. The final tackle's on. Obster's there, and gets his pass on to Cherry. Further out wide then to Benson. Benson away from his opposite centre, Duncan, but then the 6 effectively stopped eventually. And for the 6 tackle, the scrum inside Redcliffe territory by 12 metres. Lewis looking a bit tired and battle-weary there. Hart and Pearce. Pearce breaks away from one tackle, gets it away well to Cherry, the 5'8", and neatly stopped by Strudwick. Back to Part. Wrapped up by Niebling, finished by Strudwick. And this is Peter Leese. Leese Back it goes in the tackle to Park. Slipped onto Obst, across then to Jones, and losing it. Picked up very neatly by Richards. Over the top it comes now to Muir. But Muir starts to come on the pace. Can he get there up to the quarter line? 22 metres out. Caught by Schultz and also Cherry. But a near one then with Valleys very nearly breaking the defence on that line side. On to Summers. Summers sends his pass to Brody, then to Whelan. Whelan across to Niebling's in there. Niebling's pass goes astray. Duncan picks it up. The referee says play on. As a touch to Redcliffe player, 6 tackles to go. As a touch by a Redcliffe player. And so Valleys have got the chance to score from here. Charging through. 100 centimetres out from the line. Felby to play it back. Finds up into the dummy half position. Can the die-hard score? They've already scored 3 tries to 2, but they trail by 1 point. 10 metres out. Strudwick's up into the dummy half position. Referee telling Redcliffe to get back onside as Strudwick runs across and gives it to Brody, the front rower, turning it in the tackle, back to Strudwick, loose ball, and dived on by Cherry, and the roar of this crowd here as Redcliffe have regained possession. Obst giving it to Deacon, and the front rower, Trevor Deacon, up towards the quarter line in a good run. Redcliffe leading 18-17. We've got about 13 minutes of play remaining as Obst is stopped right on that quarter line by Whelan and also Brady. Barber. McGuinness, one of the tacklers. Another one, Niebling. Jones. Obst. And downfield it goes. And very close indeed for Tony Obst. It was only centimetres out.
Yes, maybe about 20 centimetres.
Terry Webb just received a little bit more attention behind the play, but he's running up to get into the second row for Redcliffe.
Valley's making too many errors winning possession.
Yes, it seems that way. This is Pearce, and Bunny Pearce trying to slice back towards the blind side, stopped by Lewis. Part is there, and a little halfback going through neatly. Well stopped by Niebling and also Strudwick. Contesting the play of the ball, and 6 tackles to go. 5-1, the second half comes to Jones as Peter Lease races away, can't get away from the fullback this time. One it comes to Part. Part looks for the support. As they say, Redcliffe dominating possession in the second half. 5-1 the scrums to new hooker Bobby Jones, and it's making a lot of difference to their play. Naturally, Lease is there, sending it on now to Deacon. Deacon skipping around a couple of players, and Valley's defence is 6s and 7s. Back it comes down to Schultz, and Schultz racing away, his second try, and the winger puts it down, and Redcliffe lead 21-17.
Yes, with an easy conversion to come, this is a critical try and could win the match for Redcliffe. Redcliffe getting a major share of the ball, and Valley's fritting it away when they do have it. And let's watch it now as we see this try scored. Colin Part's the man playing the ball there. It comes on the blind side to Peter Lease. Lease gets it on to Deacon. He's jigging in the tackle, standing there, and gets a pass away to Schultz, and Schultz careers away to score the try.
Pearce trying to make it 7 from 7 with this conversion attempt. Redcliffe leading 23 points to 17. Lewis to restart play. Redcliffe have scored 16 points to 2 in the second half of play after only 30 minutes. So 10 minutes left in this game, and they look all over winners as it comes back to Deacon. Front row 12 metres short of halfway. Webb's up into the dummy half position, and this is Barber. Frank Stanton, the Redcliffe coach, must be proud of his team today. They've certainly given a top-class exhibition in the second half with more ball possession. They've really come back strongly. This is Tony Obst, and Obst up towards the halfway mark. 5/8 there, Cherry, and eventually to Part, and then Jones across to Deacon, nearly losing a jersey in the tackle before Jones finishes with it, playing it forward, and referee blowing the whistle for the 6th tackle, the scrum to pack down. Let's look at the scrums. 8-all the scrums, and the penalties 10-8 to Valleys. Redcliffe leading 23-17. 8 minutes left. Valley ball, Strudwick, and Strudwick sees the gap, flies through, the halfback gets to him, but back it comes again to a Redcliffe player, and
that's been the story of the match, hasn't it?
He in fact dropped the ball as it came back to him. The Strudwick passed.
Yes, a set move at the base of the scrum. Strudwick going wide, finding the gap, looking for his lock forward back inside, but the pass going astray, and they've done that so many times in the second half.
Part ball into the scrum. Referee saying a few words there. It locks in the scrum. Valley hooker right down. But we'll have another scrum. Earlier matches went to... just check these earlier games. Earlier matches went to Redcliffe 20-11 in C grade, and Valleys won the reserve grade by 27 points to 7. And other C grade games, Souths beat Wynnum Manly 39-0. It's a penalty to Valleys. South beat Wynnum Manly 39-0. And East defeated Norths 25-7 in C grade. And other reserve grade games, Souths defeated Wynnum Manly 19-8, and East defeated Norths 20 points to 17. And Redcliffe beat Valleys in C grade by, of course, 20 points to 11, as we mentioned, and are now in 4th place in the premiership competition. This is Muir.
Well, let's see if Valleys can hold the ball for 6 tackles.
Richards, dummy half. Strudwick. And this is Brodie. Brodie stopped, back to Strudwick again, across to Niebling, the second row forward. 2 tacklers in there. Holmes couldn't quite get to him. The main tackler being the halfback Part. This is Summer. Lewis. Long pass to Strudwick and Klein in the centres. Changing direction, running into Cherry and also Holmes. Strudwick, Flynn, the 5'8", and Niebling outside of him. Bounces one tackler away, and it was in fact the centre Benson, and eventually stopped. Lewis trying to change direction, back to Strudwick. Over the top it goes as Cherry came in to menace Strudwick, but it's 6 tackles to go with the hooker playing it back to Strudwick. And Strudwick holding off for a minute as he dummied. That's Klein up into the dummy half position. John Barber getting a push in the head, and it's a penalty to Valleys against John Barber for not letting Strudwick play the ball immediately, or holding him down. And the penalty taken by Lewis for the line, only a few metres out. So again, the 6 tackles and pressure on Redcliffe. This is Summer turning it back to McGuinness. McGuinness caught a pretty high one by Webb for a moment, but then other tacklers come in, and the big fellow is still not down, but effectively stopped. On to Strudwick. Further across then to Flynn, out wide to Whelan, and Whelan racing in, but caught by Cherry. Strudwick and Klein. Klein bursting through. He's a big centre, isn't he, this youngster? Richards, Strudwick, and this time back to Duncan, the centre. Found the gap for a moment, but closed as he came back, changing direction to this side of the field. Lewis, and here's a chance as Lewis looked as if he was going to chip over the top for a moment. Back to Richards, and Richards tries to bore through, but no luck. The final tackle must be just about on as it comes across from Lewis, wide to Strudwick. Strudwick turning it back into Brodie. Brodie looks for someone in back here, not there. Out at what goes to Whelan. Whelan dives and gets the ball down, and it's another try to Valleys. 4 tries to 2 they've scored, but Redcliffe still lead by 23 points to 20.
Yes, I think this try has come too late. They worked hard for it, Valleys. They really struggled away up there at the try line, moved ball very well, and for the first time in this second half held onto the ball for long periods of time. They were lucky that they got a couple of 6 tackles. There was a long pass there from Lewis back into Brodie. Brodie flipped it into the air, just got it back to Summer, and Summer quick hands out to Whelan, and Whelan in the corner.
It's young Darryl Duncan, the youngster having his first A-grade game. A long kick and a difficult kick as it hits the post on that left-hand upright. It didn't have quite the height anyway, and Redcliffe lead 23-20. It's Pearce to restart play. Big match next weekend, of course, will be between Souths and Norths. Brothers will play Redcliffe next week. Valleys play Wests, and East play Wynnum. And we only have 2 more weekends after this one before the knockout semi-final on the 31st of August as Klein brings it up for Valleys. Redcliffe leading 23 points to 20, and we have 3 minutes left in the game as Flynn gives it on to Whelan.
Valleys have to really use the ball down here and try and move it around.
Strudwick to Lewis. Lewis caught by Holmes and Jones. And Strudwick back to Duncan and on to Brodie. This is Duncan. The final tackle's on. Strudwick, Lewis, across to Summer, and then McGuinness McGuinness getting it back to Strudwick. Strudwick bowled over, but got it away to Lewis before it comes on to Niebling. And Valley's making good ground up towards the halfway mark. Meninga, playing for Souths against Wynnum Manly down at Cougarai Oval, has posted his 200 points for the season. Well done, Mel. Redcliffe leading Valleys 23-20 here with about 2 minutes left. Part winning some award today, being announced on the public address system, Colin Part. And Webb. It's a bit sick, Terry Webb. He's been down a couple of times in this match. He's had a very good game too. This is Deacon, put round the chest by Summer, and Brodie was the other tackler in there. This is Lease running into Flynn, and also Falvey, the winger, is in there for the tackle. That's Jones, dumming, then tries to come up the middle, running into Niebling. Final tackle for Redcliffe. Peter Lease is there, and Lease over the quarter line and turning, but there was no one there. And so we'll have a scrum 20 metres out from Valley's line. Redcliffe leading 23-20, even though Valleys have scored 4 tries to 2. Three tries to 2, is it? 4 to 3. Oh, I'll get that straight. 4 to 3, yes. And it's on to Lewis. Lewis, back it comes to Strudwick. Strudwick out then to Falvey. And Falvey goes down under a swarm of Redcliffe jerseys. Redcliffe bent on causing an upset, contesting to play the ball, but didn't get away with it. So Strudwick finishes there. John Barber and Tony Obbs came in for the second one there, but no luck either. On to Flynn. Flynn bursting through. 5-8 for Valleys up to the halfway mark. Push it across the top, then to Duncan. Out wide to Fine. Fine then to Wheeland. Out wide then to Muir. And Muir racing down. Some nice play from Valleys. And the youngster doing well in there, Duncan, too.
Yes, he played very well, and that's the best attack we've seen from Valleys in the second half. They haven't had many opportunities. They haven't had much ball, but that's the best we've seen of them.
Not much time left in this game. Redcliffe, can they cause the upset of this round at least by beating Valleys? Valleys trying hard to win their first game in the last 4. Look as if they've been beaten with Redcliffe in possession, and Part has the ball. Only second remaining. Redcliffe leading by 23 points to 20, and down goes Holmes, the lot. Redcliffe, of course, just holding on to the ball. John Barber's into the dummy half position, and John dips his head into Wally Lewis. Just waiting for that full-time hoot of the sound. Holmes, there it is. And the roar from the crowd as Bobby Jones goes down, and Redcliffe have beaten the Premier's Valleys by 23 points to 20.
Brothers winger John Weir wins the Winfield ADC Award this weekend for the try of the weekend.
And he's whacked, that could be 6.